I'm Max Pringle with these headlines. The House of Representatives is set to vote again for a Speaker of the House. Republicans have chosen Louisiana Congressman Mike Johnson as their latest nominee for Speaker. He's the fourth candidate to try to win the gavel since Kevin McCarthy was removed earlier this month. Ben Thomas reports.
Johnson of Louisiana is a member of the House GOP leadership team, but lower ranking. A lawyer specializing in constitutional issues, he'd rallied Republicans around former President Trump's legal effort to overturn the 2020 election results.
I'm honored to have the support of my colleagues.
Johnson's the fourth nominee for Speaker and second of the day Tuesday.
Democracy is messy sometimes, but it is our system. This conference that you see, this House Republican majority, is united.
But the cycle of Republican infighting has frustrated many.
We're going to restore your trust in what we do here. You're going to see a new form of government, and we are going to move this quickly. This group here is ready to govern.
Ben Thomas, Washington.
Officials in Hamas-controlled Gaza say some 400 Israeli airstrikes pounded the region Tuesday. This comes as the White House prepares contingency plans to evacuate Americans from the region in case the conflict spreads to other areas. Sagar Magani has that story.
National Security Council spokesman John Kirby calls it prudent planning.
I think it would be imprudent and irresponsible if we weren't doing some kind of contingency thinking.
But right now, Kirby stresses there are no active efforts to get Americans out of the region beyond charter flights that began earlier this month from Israel.
We're not parking ships off the coast and getting ready to send Marines in to get people out of. You pick the place over there.
Kirby spoke as the death toll in Gaza soared amid a barrage of Israeli airstrikes, and the number is expected to grow once Israel launches an expected ground offensive.
Innocent civilians are going to be hurt going forward. I wish I could tell you something different. I wish that wasn't going to happen, but it is going to happen.
Sagar Magani, Washington.
President Biden is hosting Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese for a state visit that's intended to deepen the partnership between the two allies. The visit will feature a lavish state dinner at the White House today. The leaders are working on economic development partnerships that are intended to bolster Pacific Island nations. They're also pushing to arm Australia with U.S.-made nuclear-powered submarines. The initiatives are intended to counter China's influence in the region, which is one of President Biden's top foreign policy goals. The White House says it's an important time to demonstrate the long-standing partnership between the two nations. New court documents say an off-duty airline pilot who tried to cut the engines on a flight in midair told police he'd been struggling with depression and had taken psychedelic mushrooms before the flight. More from Ed Donahue.
More charges are being filed against an off-duty pilot who tried to cut the engines on a Horizon Air flight. Federal prosecutors are charging Alaska Airlines pilot Joseph Emerson with interfering with the flight crew. It can carry up to 20 years in prison.
We've got the guy that tried to shut the engines down out of the cockpit.
State prosecutors in Oregon already filed 83 counts of attempted murder. He pleaded not guilty to the charges. Court documents show the captain and first officer told police after the plane landed, Emerson told them, "I'm not okay," just before he reached up to pull the handles, and later said he'd been struggling with depression. A friend had recently died, and he had taken psychedelic mushrooms about 48 hours earlier. Flight instructor Mark Angelos has known Emerson for more than 10 years. He's shocked, saying it just couldn't be our Joe. I'm Ed Donahue.
Hurricane Otis has slammed into Mexico's southern Pacific coast as a catastrophic Category 5 hurricane, bringing 165-mile-per-hour winds and heavy rain to the resort city of Acapulco and nearby towns. Otis rapidly intensified Tuesday, growing from a tropical storm to a Category 5 in 12 hours. I'm Max Pringle. Those are some of the headlines.